My ex used me for a place to stay, so I packed her bags, left her at a motel, and blocked her entire bloodline quietly. I'm a 30-year-old guy who made the mistake of believing love meant rescue. When Mia showed up at my apartment door after nearly 8 months of silence, she looked like a ghost of the woman I used to know. Hair messy, eyes red, and a suitcase clutched like it carried her entire life. The first thing she said wasn't hi, or how are you? It was, I didn't know where else to go. Every rational part of me wanted to close the door. But guilt has a way of sounding like compassion when you still care about someone. So I told her she could stay for a week, just until you figure things out. She smiled weakly. That same disarming smile that used to make me forget why we broke up in the first place. For the first few days, I tried to convince myself I'd done the right thing. She cried at night, saying her roommate kicked her out, that her family wasn't answering her calls, that she just needed a fresh start. I believed her because I wanted to, because some part of me still felt responsible for her pain. But there were cracks I tried to ignore. Her story never quite lined up. One night it was, I left my job. The next it was my boss turned against me. Her phone would light up with messages she'd quickly hide. And the more comfortable she got, the less she talked about leaving. One evening, as I came home from work, I noticed her laughter echoing through my apartment. She was on the couch, barefoot, sipping wine, watching TV like she owned the place. She looked at me and said casually, "You don't mind if I crash a few more days, right?" It wasn't the question that bothered me. It was the confidence in her tone, like she already knew the answer. And maybe, deep down, she did. It didn't take long for my apartment to stop feeling like mine. Within a week, Mia's stuff was everywhere. Her makeup scattered across my bathroom counter, clothes hanging in my closet, and her oversized pink slippers parked right beside my work shoes. She'd even changed my Spotify playlists every morning. I'd wake up to her lo-fi breakup music playing through the speakers. At first, I told myself it was temporary. But temporary started to look a lot like déjà vu. The same old patterns I'd escaped from during our relationship came crawling back, the entitlement, the emotional guilt trips, the chaos that always seemed to orbit around her. One night, I found her scrolling through her phone, giggling. "Who are you texting?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light. She shrugged. "Just friends. You don't have to monitor me like last time." Her words stung, not because of what she said, but because she twisted the story. I was never the one who had control issues. She was days turned into weeks, and she made no effort to look for a job. The "I'm still recovering emotionally" excuse became her shield. When I'd bring up her plan to move out, she'd sigh dramatically and say, "You really can't stand being kind for more than 5 minutes, can you?" Every conversation ended the same way, with me feeling like a villain for setting boundaries. The apartment, once my quiet space, now buzzed with her drama. Her friends started dropping by uninvited, lounging on my couch, laughing like it was their living room. I'd come home from work and find dishes piled up, empty wine bottles, and Mia passed out on my bed. Each day felt like walking back into a relationship I swore I'd never return to. And somewhere between her laughter and my exhaustion, I realized something I didn't want to admit. She hadn't come back because she needed me. She came back because she knew I wouldn't say no. The more I tried to reason with her, the better she got at twisting everything. Every talk turned into an argument, and every argument ended with me apologizing for something I didn't do. "Mia," I said one evening, trying to stay calm, "have you actually sent out any job applications?" She looked up from her phone, scoffed, and said, "Do you have any idea how hard it is to start over?" "I'm doing my best." Her best looked like sleeping till noon and ordering takeout with my card. When I pressed again, her eyes welled up instantly, tears, shaking voice, trembling hands, the whole performance. "You think I want to depend on you?" she whispered. "You think I enjoy feeling like a burden?" And right there, my guilt overpowered my logic again. I told her it was fine. I told her to take her time. Because when Mia cried, she didn't just look sad, she looked broken. And I was always the idiot who wanted to fix what I didn't break. But the cycle was predictable. Every time I tried to hold her accountable, she'd find a new way to make me feel cruel. If I asked her to clean up after herself, she'd mumble. You sound just like my father, if I mentioned boundaries. She'd accuse me of trying to control her again. I started journaling, not because I wanted to, but because I needed to make sense of it all. Each entry was a record, the lies, the gaslighting, the manipulation. Reading back, it was like watching myself drown in slow motion, one compromise at a time. One night, after yet another argument, she muttered under her breath, "You're lucky to have me here. No one else would put up with you." Ain't froze. Because for the first time, it hit me. She wasn't just staying because she needed me. She stayed because she enjoyed watching me feel powerless. It started small, a few emergency expenses here and there. "Hey, can I use your card? I'll pay you back after I find a job," she'd say, flashing that same wounded look that made me feel like saying no would be cruel. The first charge was a grocery order, then a salon appointment, then another, labeled self-care. Within a week, my card looked like it belonged to someone living two lives, one responsible, one reckless. When I brought it up, she sighed dramatically. Tossing her hair over her shoulder, "Relax," she said. "It's not like I'm spending thousands. You told me to take care of myself, remember?" Her voice was light, almost teasing, like she'd found a loophole in my kindness. I wanted to shout, but I knew how that would go. She'd cry, accuse me of being financially controlling, and somehow I'd end up apologizing again. But what really broke me was the day. I checked my bank app and saw she'd ordered an expensive handbag, the exact one she used to talk about back when she had her own job. I walked into the living room and saw her unboxing it like it was a trophy. "Mia, are you kidding me?" I snapped. She looked up, unbothered. "You wouldn't understand. It's about feeling normal again." "Normal," I said, trying not to raise my voice. "Normal is paying for your own things." She rolled her eyes. "You're so uptight. It's not like you're broke." That sentence stayed in my head long after she walked away. It's not like you're broke. It wasn't just the money. It was what it meant that my generosity wasn't a gesture. It was a resource she felt entitled to that night. As I sat in the dark, staring at my dwindling account balance, something inside me started to shift. I wasn't angry yet, but I was done pretending I didn't see what was happening. The day everything snapped started like any other silent tension, unwashed dishes and a stranger sleeping in my bed. I'd gone to work early, hoping the space between us might cool things down, but halfway through the day, my phone started buzzing. Messages from friends with screenshots. At first I thought it was a mistake, but there she was, Mia, posting on her Instagram story from my apartment, wearing my hoodie, sipping the wine I'd bought with the caption, "Soft life vibes." Some people are just meant to provide. The comments were full of laughing emojis and heart eyes. She was mocking me publicly, turning my home, my pity, into content for her ego. My stomach twisted. It wasn't just disrespect. It was humiliation. I remember sitting there at my desk, reading the caption again and again, feeling my chest tighten. My kindness had become her punchline when I came home that evening. She was sprawled across the couch, phone in hand, watching videos. "Mia," I said quietly, "we need to talk." Asterisk, she didn't even look up. "About what now?" "About how you've been using me," she laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh, please. You let me stay here. You offered your card. Don't act like I forced you." The calm in her voice scared me more than any shouting ever could. I stared at her for a long moment and said, "You know what? You're right. I did let you. That's on me." She smirked, thinking she'd won. But inside me, something had gone completely still. That fragile, guilty part of me that always wanted to fix her was gone. That night, while she slept peacefully in my bed, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. For the first time, I wasn't wondering how to help her. I was wondering how to end this. The next morning, I woke up before dawn. The apartment was quiet, the kind of quiet I used to love before it started feeling like suffocation. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and opened my notebook. That's when I decided I wasn't going to argue anymore. No shouting, no warnings, no dramatic ultimatums. I was done playing defense. It was time to take back control. Quietly, When Mia woke up around noon, she found me cleaning. "Wow," she said, rubbing her eyes. "Since when do you care about chores again?" I smiled. "Just trying to make the place feel fresh." She shrugged, not realizing what was really happening. Over the next few days, I changed everything, slowly, deliberately. I canceled the shared streaming accounts, changed passwords, transferred money to a private account, and started boxing up my important documents. I even created a backup set of house keys without her knowing. Every step felt like oxygen after months of drowning. Meanwhile, I played my part perfectly. I cooked dinner, asked about her job search, even joked around like nothing was wrong. She bought it fully. Her guard dropped completely. She started bragging to her friends again about how we were working things out. I let her believe it. One night, as she scrolled through her phone beside me, she leaned her head on my shoulder and said softly, "See? Things are getting better." I smiled. "Yeah, they are." But in my mind, I was counting days, not memories. That night, I packed one small box with essentials and slid it into my car. Just in case. Mia thought she had me wrapped around her finger again, that I was too kind to ever push back. She didn't realize kindness can be the quietest form of revenge because it gives you the power to watch someone walk straight into the trap they built for you. For the next week, I played the part so well, even I started believing it at times. The tension vanished. The shouting stopped. Mia was suddenly affectionate again, cooking once in a while, laughing at my jokes, even sending me texts during the day, like we were a couple again. It was unsettling how easy she switched masks when she thought she had control back. One evening, I made us dinner. Nothing fancy, just pasta, candles, soft music. I wanted the moment to feel like closure, even if she didn't know it yet. She sat across from me, swirling her wine and smiling. "See," she said, "we're finally in a good place again. You just needed to relax." I looked at her, studying the face that once meant safety to me. "Yeah," I said quietly. "Maybe I did." She leaned back, self-satisfied. "I told my friends we'd get through it. They said you were too cold to ever forgive me. Guess they were wrong." She had no idea I'd already called the lawyer the day before just to confirm my rights as a tenant and what steps I could legally take to remove someone living rent-free. I'd even prepaid a motel room for 3 nights, using her name. Everything was lined up perfectly. All I had to do was wait. After dinner, she put on one of my shirts and curled up beside me on the couch. I didn't move. I just watched the TV flicker across her face, thinking how peace doesn't always come from forgiveness sometimes. It comes from execution. That night, I packed her bags while she slept. Every item folded neatly, every belonging labeled. I didn't do it out of anger. I did it because I wanted her departure to be as organized as her chaos had been messy. As I zipped the last bag shut, she stirred and mumbled, "Where are you going?" I whispered back, "Nowhere, Mia." "But you are." The next morning, I woke up before sunrise. The air was cold and still, perfect for quiet decisions. I brewed coffee, packed her bags into the trunk of my car, and set her phone alarm for 7 a.m. I wanted her awake just in time to realize she was being moved out of my life for good. When she shuffled into the kitchen, half asleep and confused, she blinked at me. "Why are you dressed?" "It's Sunday." I smiled, calm and steady. "Got a surprise for you?" "Come on, grab your things." She frowned but followed, still groggy, assuming it was another one of my guilty peace gestures. She didn't notice the packed suitcases until we reached the parking lot. "Mia," she said suspiciously, "what's all this?" I opened the car door. "You'll see." The drive was silent. She scrolled her phone, humming softly, oblivious. I didn't say much, just focused on the road, on the freedom humming beneath my skin. When we finally pulled up to a modest roadside motel, her confusion turned to irritation. "Wait, what are we doing here?" she asked, voice rising. I popped the trunk and started unloading her bags. "You said you needed space," I said evenly. "Now you have it." She laughed, that mocking, sharp laugh I used to mistake for confidence. "You're joking, right?" "No," I said, handing her the room key I'd prepaid. "You're checked in for 3 nights. After that, you'll need to figure things out on your own." Her smile vanished. "You can't just dump me here," she shouted, stepping closer. "After everything I've been through?" I interrupted softly. "No, Mia. After everything I've been through?" For a long moment she just stared, realizing she couldn't manipulate silence. No tears, no yelling, no guilt-tripping could reach me anymore. I got back in the car, rolled down the window, and said the last words I'd ever say to her. "You wanted freedom. Don't forget to enjoy it." And I drove away, leaving her standing in the cold morning light, clutching the key to a room that wasn't mine anymore and never would be again. When I got home, the silence felt different this time. Not heavy, not lonely, just mine. I stood in the doorway for a long moment, looking around at the space she'd invaded. Her perfume still lingered faintly in the air, sweet and suffocating. I opened the windows wide and let the cold morning breeze sweep through every corner like an exorcism. Then I pulled out my phone. It was time to finish the job. First, I blocked her number. Then her backup number. Then her email, her Instagram, her Snapchat, all of it. I even found her Venmo and removed the connection. Every tap felt like a stitch being pulled from a wound that was finally healing. Minutes later, my phone started buzzing. Messages from mutual friends. "Dude, Mia's freaking out." "What happened?" "She says you abandoned her with no warning." Kinda harsh, don't you think? I didn't reply. I didn't defend myself. I'd spent too long explaining things to people who didn't live in the wreckage I did. Instead, I opened each chat and pressed block. One by one, her entire bloodline of chaos gone from my digital life. By evening, my notifications were silent for the first time in months. No crying voicemails. No guilt texts. No emotional blackmail disguised as love. Just peace. I made dinner for one, lit a candle, and sat at the table that used to be ours. The seat across from me was empty, and for once, that emptiness felt like victory when I looked at my reflection in the window. I barely recognized the man staring back, not because he'd changed, but because he finally looked free. Still in the quiet hum of the apartment, a question lingered like smoke. How long before she found another way to claw her way back into my life? It didn't take long for the storm to reach me. Within a week, mutual acquaintances started whispering. Screenshots trickled in. Mia had begun spinning a new narrative. According to her, I'd kicked her out with no money, stranded her miles from home, and emotionally abused her for months. She even posted a long story on social media, the same account she'd used to brag about her soft life. Now, suddenly, she was the victim. People started taking sides. Old friends texted, "Hey man, what really happened?" While others just unfollowed me quietly. At work, I caught myself glancing at my phone during breaks, half expecting some kind of apology or explanation from her. But deep down, I knew Mia didn't apologize. She rewrote. Then came the guilt, quiet but relentless. I kept replaying that morning at the motel. Her shocked face, the trembling in her voice, the way she called after me as I drove away. For a brief moment, I actually wondered if I'd gone too far. Maybe I should have handled it differently. Maybe I'd become the villain she always painted me as. But guilt has a short life when truth steps in. A few days later, one of her old friends, someone she'd recently ghosted, sent me screenshots from a group chat. In them, Mia was bragging. Can you believe he actually fell for it? Free rent, free meals, and he thought I was broken. I played that role too well. I stared at the screen, my jaw clenched. Every trace of sympathy evaporated. She hadn't been hurt, she'd been performing. That night, I sat outside on my balcony, breathing in the cold air. I realized guilt was the last chain she had left on me. And for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel sorry. I felt nothing. Months passed, and for the first time in years, life felt simple. No yelling, no manipulation, no emotional landmines hidden in everyday moments. I got used to silence, real silence, not the tense kind that comes before an argument. My apartment finally felt like mine again. I redecorated, started working out, even picked up painting, something I hadn't done since before. Mia. but peace doesn't last long when your past thrives on chaos. One evening, I got a message from a mutual friend, a long paragraph that started with, "Please don't be mad, but Mia asked me to reach out, apparently." She'd been doing a lot of reflection and wanted to apologize in person. I almost laughed. It was predictable, really, the cycle of destruction followed by pretend remorse. But instead of ignoring it, I decided to end it properly. I didn't respond to her message. Instead, I mailed something to her address. A plain envelope, with no note, no return address. Inside were printed receipts of every charge she'd ever made on my credit card. The food, the wine, the handbags, the makeup. At the top of the page, I'd written 3 simple words in black ink. Paid. In full, no anger. No explanation. Just quiet, final accountability. A week later, my friend texted, "She got your letter?" I asked, and he replied, "She didn't say anything, just went pale and left." I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel vindictive. I felt clean. Like I'd scrubbed the last bit of her from my life. Revenge didn't come through shouting, or social media posts, or dramatic speeches. It came in silence, the kind that leaves the other person alone with their own reflection. And if you've ever dealt with someone like her, you know that silence hurts more than any words ever could. It's been almost a year since that final letter, and sometimes when I think back, it feels like a different lifetime. The version of me who let Mia back in, the one who confused pity for love, doesn't exist anymore. I don't hate him, but I don't miss him either. He was too forgiving, too afraid of being the bad guy, too eager to heal people who enjoyed breaking him. My apartment is quiet now, but it's a peaceful kind of quiet. The kind that hums with safety instead of tension. I wake up early, make coffee, and sit by the window where sunlight spills over the floorboards she once complained were too dull. It's funny, those same floorboards feel warm now. Like they remember the difference between chaos and calm. Sometimes. I still get messages from people who used to be mutual friends. "Did you ever talk to her again?" they ask. I don't respond, because there's nothing left to say. Closure didn't come from hearing her apologize. It came from realizing I didn't need one. The truth is, I don't think Mia ever loved me. Not really. She loved the version of me that served her, the provider, the listener, the fixer. But love without respect isn't love. It's dependency wearing a romantic mask. I used to think revenge was about getting even. Now I know it's about getting free. Walking away quietly, without giving them the satisfaction of seeing you hurt. That's the loudest revenge there is. Sometimes I wonder if she ever thinks about me. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. Either way, I smile and whisper the same thing every time. You used me for a place to stay. But I built peace in the space you left behind. And that, to me, is the perfect ending. Not fire, not fury, just freedom.